Welcome to the Wisdom from Within podcast. My name is Jen Axe, and I am your host. This is where mindset meets body set, where we access both so that we can make the most genuine, authentic, empowered impact on those we love and those we serve. Let's get started. I am so excited today to have Madison Malloy, who is the podcast host of Next to Madison, which is all about confidence and identity and reinvention. She's a best-selling author, a mindset coach, and a speaker. And what I love so much about this woman's story is that she has taken so many pivots. Just wait. She started in finance and she pivoted into comedy and she pivoted into having her own podcast, et cetera, et cetera. The list is long. She's made a lot of moves. And at the end of the day, she has followed her gut. She has followed her intuition and she has found freedom because of it. There's so much to learn from this story, and I'm so excited to share her with you. Welcome, Madison. I thank you for being here. And I'm so excited for the listeners to hear about your journey because this is called the Wisdom from Within podcast, right? And it's all about the humanity of us, the stories within us, the life journey that led us where we are now through this lens of the body's wisdom and really helping people understand what that means and why it matters and how it can help us be successful in our life. So here's the thing about you that I love so much is that you've made so many pivots in your life, it seems.
Yes.
And from what I read and what we talked about briefly is that initial onset of you were in finance for a long time, right? And then you made a pivot and then you made another pivot. And what I'm curious about is was that the entry point for you? Did you want to go into finance or did you do it you did want to go into finance? Can you talk to us about that journey, like that first initial decision and what led you there?
So I was about 16 years old. So I was in high school, and my mom had a friend whose husband was very wealthy, and they could do a lot of things that we couldn't. And my dad said, well, that's because I'm an accountant and he's an investment banker. And I said, well, then I'm going to be an investment banker. I don't want to hear no. I want to do what they're doing. So I had kind of made my mind up based on never having to hear no, wanting to do these amazing things and have that financial freedom and kind of prove my value to the world, so to say, at that time, being young. So everything where I went to college, what I studied was all based on the fact that I was going to Wall Street. So I had a very clear vision and nothing was going to stop me. And I didn't really even know about like visualization and manifestation and all this stuff back then. It was just something that I naturally embodied. Everything worked out. Everything always worked out the way my dad used to call me, like, you're the lucky one. You're the lucky one. So I get to Wall Street.
Yeah.
I love it. I still have friends that I worked with there to this day. It was amazing. But I realized when I was looking around that I didn't feel that people were happy or fulfilled, that they were aging rapidly. And that there seemed to be a lot of like corporate BS.
What were you noticing that made you feel that way?
I think it was a lot of what we call FaceTime. It was more not about the work you did, but like being there at a certain time, staying till a certain time, even if there wasn't any work to be done. So it just felt like everybody was just trying to make an impression to kind of move up this ladder. But then there were really fun parts. There were fun parts when you saw a trader freak out, get into a fist fight. As much as that could be scary, this was the movies you saw. This was I was living the dream. You know what I mean? I'm like, some guy just smashed his computer on the ground. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm
wait, you were like, this is awesome because you were like, this is passion. This is like drive. This is what were you aligning with? Yeah.
It was everything I saw in the movies.
Okay.
Wall Street, the boiler room. This was like, I was like part of the men's locker room.
Right.
Tomboy. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, where's the cocaine and the hookers? Like, this
Yeah.
is what we need, you know?
Yes. Oh my God. That's hilarious. Okay.
And so, there was the adrenaline parts, and there was the good parts, and the people were great. But I was also there. I got there when things were really, really good. I was a mortgage bond trader.
Hmm.
And then a year and a half, about a year later, things started to unravel, and we landed into the financial crisis of 2008.
Okay.
So even though I wanted to get out of that particular sector, I thought maybe I would be in finance. But it was amazing to witness people losing stuff, and not
Mm,
amazing in, like, not a good way, but like in a
right.
wake up way. Like, nothing is guaranteed. This can all be taken from you at any single moment.
Right.
People were pulling their kids out of school. They were selling their homes. People didn't know if they were going to be in trouble with the law. Nobody kind of knew what was going on. So I was like, took it as, this is God's way of telling me, okay, here's your exit. You don't have to explain yourself. You just boom. And that was it. And I had met this guy in my building that I was living at in New York, and he was always with a different woman. And I said to him, "Are you the biggest player in New York City?" And he laughed. He thought it was funny. And we immediately struck up a conversation. And he had a company and wanted to start a company that would compete a little bit with his. And he needed somebody to run it, somebody young and hungry to run it. And I was like, oh, I get to own a company and do my own thing. And this is exactly what I needed. So without doing any due diligence, I jumped. And
You
I
jumped
didn't,
in.
yeah, I didn't realize, like, there was so much risk. It was, the model wasn't exactly how it should work. It should have been a different model. Were they going to allow outside investors? There were so many different working parts. What was the budget they were going to allow me to build a team around to help build things up? And, my mistakes, their mistakes, eventually, like, we didn't make it. But that journey led me to feeling like I hit rock bottom. And
The
when
journey of the crash you're talking about when you were still
No,
in.
not the Wall Street one. It was the crash of the business not going where I thought it would go,
Okay. Okay. Got
and,
it.
like, running out of money.
Let's just rewind for a quick second when you were still in Wall Street and 2008 happens and you're seeing all of these people like dealing with such loss. And I'm curious about, because the like your story, I think underneath there's so much that your body was telling you. And I'm curious about that piece being at the front center because the whole concept of this is to awaken people to that inner voice, to awaken people to know that that is
Yeah.
their GPS. That is the voice of their truth, of their guidance, of the system that they should follow because we're so focused on external expectations and guidance. What does this
Yes.
person want me to do? What does that? So I'm
Yes.
just curious about that moment because you said, God told you. You had this moment of like, it's time to pivot. So, what was that really? Was that this internal voice that you were like, okay, what was that crossroads like for you personally before you pivoted and started to go work for this other company?
Well, I mean, if you mentioned, like, how your body felt, if I,
Yeah.
you know, went back to that time, my chest felt tight a
Yeah.
lot. You
Uh
know what
huh.
I mean? You had anxiety naturally, but
Mm,
it's kind of what helped you fuel or,
right.
thrive in those environments. But
Right.
I gotta tell you, and we'll get back to it, just that never stopped, and I never realized that I lived in fight or flight and kind of anxiety, and my shoulders were always tight, and even when I was sleeping, I couldn't fully relax. I
Right.
just thought that was normal.
Okay. This is what's so important.
Yeah,
Yes. Go ahead. Speak to that. You thought that was normal because.
that's all I knew. That
Right.
was that was after college, it was this constant, like, pressure to,
Mm,
first it's the pressure to prove yourself to the world.
right.
And validate, you wanted out external validation, and I think
Right.
a lot of teens and people in their 20s really thrive on that. And
Right.
when they don't get that, it's a dangerous place to be. It
Mm,
wasn't until I was about 35 that the inner validation started kicking in, but I didn't realize I was living in a fight or flight mode and constantly stressed. until I moved out of New York City,
Which was just recently.
which was just 6 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay. That's so,
Crazy.
so you were feeling that stress in your chest, the shoulders, you're sleeping. Did this stem from like
Constantly.
earlier, like where, because you got into this, you're talking about, young people looking for that external validation, trying to prove yourself. It sounds like you fell into that category a little bit. So did this fight or flight, was that earlier in your body as well? But you were just like, I'm just going because I'm
Yeah.
focused. I want to, go ahead.
When your body feels a certain way,
Yeah.
you just think it's normal. It's your
Right.
new normal.
Right.
Right? So you've got to like reset that system. But New York City, as much as it has a lot of amazing, beautiful things to offer, and I would never regret my time there.
Right.
And I feel so lucky that I had those experiences.
Yep.
It's not necessarily the healthiest place to live. The cost of living is very high. Everything's very expensive.
Yep.
And so you're constantly trying to survive. People get raises, but then everything else goes up. So you never feel like you're really, 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 really getting ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I think that people naturally just live in this without knowing it. And
Mm.
I didn't know. If people said, people would explain me as, oh, she's happy. I was happy. I was happy with a million knots in my back, but I
Right.
felt happy. I mean, and that's
Mm.
why I always wanted to escape the city
Mm.
on the weekends, right? I would
Mm-hmm.
like in the summer, if I had to spend one weekend in the city, I was sad because
Mm-hmm.
because I needed to come to be in nature to have that escape because it's the only time I could really feel like I could
Relax.
relax. And I
Right.
just didn't know that. I think it's just New York, it is just so expensive. Unless you are making 10 plus $1 million a year, I think it's really hard to feel just zen there. And I can only
Mm-hmm.
speak from my experience.
Yeah.
And I love New York and I had tears the other day because I was like, God, I miss my girlfriends.
Right.
But they're all going to come down and visit and I can always go back. But
What was that? I mean, that was a recent, I know we're like jumping to that, but I want to get to that because that's such a huge pivot for you. What was that final moment? Like, tell us a little bit about like the climb to that,
to
to be
moving,
like, I'm actually out of here. And what was your body telling you? What was that climb and how do you feel now? Yes, I want to hear that.
I feel great, but I think that like many New Yorkers that have fled, many have gone to Florida or different
Right.
places. I think just the political landscape was becoming too intense.
Hmm.
The city was collecting all this tax revenue, but couldn't balance a budget. And
Mm.
so naturally everything was just getting crunched. And it was just, there's so many things if you start going down the rabbit hole of all the
Yeah.
ghost apartments that sat there, why rents were so high, people purposely like not renting and keeping places empty to bump up the demand.
Hmm.
It was just corruption through and through.
Hmm.
And I just felt like, you know what, I want Mondami to be successful because I want everybody who gets a chance to be successful. But for me, I was just like, I don't see this going in a direction that I want to be involved in. I had the best years in New York City.
Hmm.
And I think it is time where I can live more like a queen. I can get ahead financially because of the taxes. I
Hmm.
can finally just like kind of relax, be in a place
Hmm.
that feels more like home. And it didn't come without risk. I mean, I had a great group of friends
Hmm.
that I left, and that was the hardest part.
Right.
But in trying to, and I have friends that are down in Nashville, so it kind of put me ahead. But I still am trying to
Mm.
find my group of girls and
Yeah.
find my way, and slowly, and surely you do that.
Yeah.
But you got to take the risk. And that was that gut feeling that I never would listen to. I wouldn't listen to it in relationships. I wouldn't listen to it in jobs. And it was this intuitive feeling. I just thought it was me expecting the worst outcome. It was the
Mm.
anxiety kind of running the show, where a lot of it was me not listening to my gut. So when I started to,
Yes.
rewire my mind and get out of the anxiety and
How'd you
depression,
do that?
a lot of self-help podcasts, a lot of trainings, manifestation trainings, a lot
Mhm.
of tracking my thoughts of, how was I feeling? What was this thought? Where did it come from?
Yeah. Yes.
And to being able to kind of, get out of that situation. And I totally had a brain fart.
I know it's okay because I'm really thinking about, yes, you
Oh,
started
the
like
gut.
doing all that work, but then how did you trust the gut after not trusting the gut for so long? Like
Because
what?
the
Yeah.
gut was always right.
How'd you know that?
Because what I expected happened. So that's why I
Mm,
tell people, be very careful. You can
right.
manifest what you don't want.
Yes, this is huge.
Yeah, and you can also manifest, you can just as easily manifest what you want.
That's
So I don't know
right.
if I was manifesting it or it was my intuition and
Mm,
my gut telling me this is not right, because eventually I had the proof. So all of a sudden it was like, see, I knew I was right. So I started to listen to that
yes.
and follow it, because
Yep.
I had a track record, right? The track record was, when this feeling comes up, your body is telling you, have a conversation or make some adjustments. But
Right.
I refuse to listen to it, because I think we ignore our body and we ignore our feelings and we blow it off as something else. We
Yep.
blow it off as nerves. We blow it off as overthinking. We blow it
Yep.
off as interpreting something differently.
Yep.
And instead, listening to that gut. So when I had a gut feeling that I needed to get to Nashville, because there's a lot of like entertainment and publishers that are down here, I decided, maybe I should follow this. I can live the quality of life that I want to.
Hmm.
It's a new adventure. Everyone that's moved down there loves it. There's no state tax, there's no city tax. Mondami was looking like he was going to get in, which happened. And so I said, you know what? Go Mondami, go. This is my chance to start fresh.
Hmm.
And I had no idea within the first 3 days of getting here. I'm like, I feel different. I haven't felt stress. Nothing's changed within my work and my
Hmm.
workload, but the stress has become like gone.
Wow.
It's just gone. It's just weird. Like
It's
I don't feel
beautiful.
frazzled, and I don't. So I'm a big believer in, you can have your goals and you can have like, but if you're not in the right environment,
Yeah.
your goals are going to be impossible to reach.
Mm.
Your environment, your living situation, who you surround yourself with is a big thing. And I had the best people around me. So I had that going for me. But I didn't have the healthiest living situation, I felt, for me.
Hmm.
And I didn't, and so my environment was not
Hmm.
allowing me to get ahead. And I knew if I didn't make a change, I would, and just another year goes by. Not much changes, except you need a little more units of Botox. They just keep going. You know what I mean? Like it's the
Yeah.
only thing that's changing. You know, a little more maintenance. And I knew that if I didn't make this change, nothing would really change. So I followed it, and so far so good.
Okay, that is incredible. That is absolutely, you listened to your body. And I love that whole, because so many people ask me, well, how do I know
Yeah,
when my gut is pulling me in a direction? How do I know that it's the right direction? Because it's
yeah,
not always the right direction. But what you're saying is, you proved to yourself, I listened to my gut and it took me down a path that wasn't exactly, it was actually right for you for a long period until your body got louder and then your gut told you to pivot. You had proof about what happens, that you can manifest this life. So be careful, right?
yeah.
I love the whole both sides of it. And so you learned so much about the power of the gut. And so now, is it like you're just like, I'm going to listen all the time? Are you doing anything differently now with your body in terms of the relationship and how you listen to it?
Um, yeah, like sometimes I'll feel, I think I'm very like an empath. I
Yeah.
pick up on people's energy. And so, if my friends are anxious or somebody I'm dating is anxious, like I can feel that. And it
Hmm.
feels weird because I'm going, wait a second, I thought I've healed this. I've gotten over this. And then when you have a conversation, it's like, yeah, I've got this anxiety. And it's like, even far away, it's pulling. So I think it's also, for somebody like me, you can feel other people's anxiety as well. And when that happens, it's like, hey, just stop and have a conversation.
Hmm.
When it comes to relationships, whether it's with friends, family, or romantic, I think you can feel somebody else's anxiety when you're connected to them. And that's when you need to have a conversation. Because
Hmm.
but we want to avoid the conversation, because I don't like conflict. I like to avoid conflict. I really do. But if I feel that somebody, like might be a little bit upset with me, or doesn't like how I didn't show up for something or something like, with family
Right.
specifically. Um, sometimes I just kind of brush it under the rug, but I'd feel it. I would feel in my body and in my gut, like, oh, I think they're a little annoyed at me, or they're, and I would avoid it in the past. And then I would just say, hey, I just wanted to check in.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of, felt something was off. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. Like, am I doing anything that's,
Mm-hmm.
upsetting you, or, how can I show up better for you? I love that
Right.
term. I think
Oh,
that's the term you got to
beautiful.
use. Yeah.
I
Like, how
love
do I
that.
show up better for you?
Okay, that's beautiful. Do you apply that in your business?
No, but I should, because I
How, what
feel
would
like
that look like if you
well,
did?
in business, I feel like you do add value and you do show up and you
Mm-hmm.
do, one thing I tell people all the time is, like, if you're going to start a business based on how much money you're going to make, you're probably going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
You just are, because you're chasing the wrong thing. You need to start a business based on the service and the value you're going to bring to this industry or this world. And
Mm-hmm.
so, being in the creative space, especially when I go and create like a concept or a book or whatever it is that I'm creating, and I'm going to pitch it out there to a publisher or production company or network, I always go through the lens of, how can I serve you
Yeah.
and add value to you? It's not,
Yes.
this is what this is going to do for me. I take myself out of the equation. The equation is, this is how this project, can produce a positive ROI, can impact, listeners, viewers,
Mm-hmm.
readers,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what it's going to do to improve the world. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like,
Yes.
I think for me, my mission is like, how do I make the world a better place? And so
Yep.
I had a friend that got me involved in a business thing. And somebody said, you have so many different things. Why are you doing this? I know there's like great money in it. And I said, because people are getting taken advantage of, and I want to stop it. And if I can help
Love that.
improve their life, then it
Yeah.
goes right into the mission of Madison Malloy.
Well, I love that so much. And it goes back to the question, do you apply this in your business? And you said, no, I should. You absolutely apply this in your business. You might not be sitting in front of someone saying, how can I show up for you better?
Yes, that's
But
it.
you're actually, that is how you serve the world. That's the question you're asking the world internally to then go out and execute your form of leadership. Your
Yeah.
form of leadership is all about service, showing up better, providing, helping people's lives get better. So you are actually asking that question.
Okay, good. I guess I'm just asking it like a different way. But yeah, I always tell people, because I think it's so important that, when you go at it from like the value you're adding,
Right.
that's how you make leaps and bounds.
Yes.
And also for anyone who's like young listening to this, and you're, buying stuff you can't afford to impress people you don't really care about, stop,
Well, the
because
thing is,
none of that's going to matter in the end. None of it.
right. I love that whole piece about that question of and that mission of service. And I'm just curious, at the heart of that for you, of the heart of your service, where do you feel that in your body? Like, what is the connection to you about the kind of service that you're providing? Where does that come from deep within you?
Well, I mean, I want to say heart, because like heart is like love and service,
Right.
but I feel good, and I think the majority of people feel better when they're doing something for somebody else.
Right.
You know, it's
Mhm.
it's the whole thing. The more you give, the more you get, and you don't
Mm.
give to get. You just
Mhm.
give to give, right?
Right.
So it always comes back around. And I used to
Mhm.
have a thing where, if, let's say there was like a business deal going on, and you want to make sure you're protected, and or a connection, you want to make sure you're somehow included or something like that. And I used to worry about certain things, like, am I going to get cut out of this? Am I going to do this? That's all gone. I just
Mm.
live by life is happening for me, and it'll be this or something better.
Mm.
So now when I connect people, I don't connect people thinking what's in it for me. I
Right.
connect people out of the goodness of my heart, because other people have done that for me. And
Mhm.
that's how we have to keep living. It's not
Mhm.
like, oh, because they get this opportunity or they get this connection, there's not enough for me. That is a
Mhm.
scarcity mindset that needs to
Right.
be stopped immediately. what is meant for you will be for you. And I always wake up every day and I was just like, show me the amazing things that are going to happen today.
Mm-hmm.
And, if something goes a little bit awry or a little stressful, it's like, well, life's happening for me. Look at the lesson it could teach you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Yeah.
going to start noticing when you live in that mindset that there's less lessons to be learned. You're kind of
What
on the other side.
I love that.
Yeah, because there's not as much stressful things when you
Mm-hmm.
operate from a life is always happening
For
for
me.
me. And true. And I think this is where our society went so wrong. And I heard somebody say this on a podcast once, and I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. We are so brainwashed and trained in society like we are going to live forever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We don't have mortality on the forefronts of our mind, which is changes the game, right? We stress about things that aren't important. We worry about things. We don't express love or honesty with people. We're afraid of rejection. And when you really look at those fears, it's operating from a lens of it's going to last forever. When you start looking at, oh my gosh, this could end at any point, your rejection fears go away. You're more honest and vulnerable with the people you love. The worry kind of stops. And you start looking at life like a video game, which is a beautiful thing, right? Like if things go wrong, you stop, you reset, and you go through. But you're also realizing that like nothing is forever. We come in here alone, we go out alone. So I think a lot in relationships, and I'm speaking from my past experience where I would be fearful to open up or get involved because I didn't want to get hurt, because that's all I knew. I'm not married, right? I only know relationships ending, where you have to be vulnerable and you have to open up. But if it's like, wow, I have 6 months to live or I have 6 years to live, I want to experience that. And none of us know. And it's like, who cares what you look like? As long as you're just going forward and being your most authentic self, you've really got nothing to lose. Because I don't want to be one of those people on my deathbed that's like, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it takes a while to get there. It's not easy to get there, to get comfortable
No,
in
it
your
took
own
me
skin and follow that path.
37 years.
Right. Exactly. So talk to us a little bit about how that shift happened for you. What kind of practices? Who were your teachers? Like what experiences did you have to create that shift for yourself?
I think I had a rock bottom moment, to be honest. I always had that famous line of, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I'm famous. I'll be happy when I sell this TV show. I'll be like, so life was always there was stuff to look forward to, but how on earth was I ever supposed to bring this to me if it was always just in the future? So the universe was saying, oh my gosh, okay, we'll just dangle it in front of her like a carrot. Because she's exactly, this is the frequency she's giving off, and she's okay with this, and it was always like living for something else, living for the future instead of like being grateful for what I had. And, for me, it was like I was so financially stressed. I wasn't getting ahead. I lived in this constant scarcity and lack mindset before I even really knew what the hell that was. And I just kind of operated in that zone thinking it was normal. And I became really depressed. Really, really depressed. But I was afraid to come out and say I'm depressed. I didn't want to be labeled as somebody who had a depression or anxiety. I was just so down that I remember my lowest moment of thinking like, I don't even want to be alive. Like it would just, and I remember thinking to myself, what would this do to your friends, your family? This isn't God's plan. This is a selfish move for you. Like you have so many other blessings. And I thought, and it kind of woke me up to think like, holy shit, I'm not looking around at all the good shit in my life.
Yeah.
Of all the amazing things in my life. Yeah, I may not be a zillionaire, but that will come. This stuff that I have in my life, you can't buy.
Right.
And that's when I stepped into immense gratitude. And that was kind of started to change the game. I also started to.
Did you do that on your own, or did you have guidance?
Well, I started to do that on my own, and then the depression was still there. And then I realized that like sometimes our bodies just don't produce certain hormones or chemicals, and that's okay. I think accepting yourself and loving yourself and being okay, and that the help is there if you need it.
Right.
So I went on a mild antidepressant, and it helped me just kind of calm myself and get
Absolutely.
clear. And then, I read obviously The Secret and different things by, This Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And just really kind of studied that. But really, a lot of people know The Secret or they know these books, but they can't apply it to their lives because they're just listening, but they're not like actually taking action and changing the identity that creates that. So I started really tracking my thoughts. And like, was this scarcity? Was this abundance? Like, where was this coming from? What was I feeling? What happened the day before? And to really kind of get a gauge on, what was causing this so I could then stop it. And so a big thing too is, you can say like reject. I think that's a good way for things not to, impress upon your subconscious mind. Like, for example, you can be around at a party or with a group of people, and they're talking about how shitty the economy is, how life is so expensive, how like they don't have enough money, how, we all know people like this in our life, right? You don't want to absorb that energy. So in your mind, a little trick is just, why they're saying this, you're listening out of respect, but you're also saying reject, 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 reject.
That's like my version of body set.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as I get hijacked or I'm in this moment or I'm in a conversation, I'm like, body set, hand on your heart, belly, close your eyes.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah,
it's so
exactly.
true. And
because
so
we need to return to what's true. Okay, go ahead.
yeah. And then, from there I was able to kind of just really, uncomplicate life, I feel like, and make it more fun and kind of operate it like a video game. And like, I could die at any moment. Like, why am I not taking these risks? Why am I not having more fun? Why do I give a shit what anyone thinks?
Right.
And it just kind of took over. And then that's when I realized, I'm like, you know what? The times that I'm the most upset, the times that I just need to pull the corn cob right out of my asshole. Because you know what I mean? It's like, what the hell got shoved up there? And so I wrote the book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up, because I felt like that was the answer, that everyone is just overcomplicating and is so uptight that if we just looked back and started laughing at what life really is, we're kind of living in like this crazy matrix, just trying to evolve our soul so we can get back home. And in the meantime, we're trying to accumulate so much shit that we can't even take it with us.
Right.
So it's kind of a funny game if you think about it. And it's such a blip of time, right? I always love that visual where it's like you were here and then it zooms all the way out and you can't even see it.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, stop taking yourself so seriously. None of this is that important. Have fun, enjoy, laugh, spread value, love yourself, love other people. It's not hard.
Right.
Made it hard.
Right.
Maybe our upper little handlers made it harder because like, let's control these peons. And sure enough, we just fell right in line.
Oh my gosh. And then you wound up doing comedy.
Oh yeah, I did that too.
Yeah, let's talk about that because
that's
was the emphasis for that? Was it like lighten the fuck up and I'm going to go be a comedian?
No, that came after. That's why the self-help book is supposed to be funny and raunchy.
Got it.
Came with, so I started comedy after the online business I left Wall Street for stopped. I said, well, I got nothing to lose. I might as well just go after my dream. And I was the happiest when I was making people laugh.
Oh my gosh. When did you know? Wait, you said I'm going to go after my dream of making people laugh and being a comedian, but when did that even start? When you were younger? Like we didn't even talk about when was the comedian piece of you alive?
You're born with it. I used to sit around and tell people jokes all the time, and I'd hear jokes and I had a great memory. And the problem with me though was that my jokes were never appropriate. Even when I was younger. Well, it's not a problem. It was a problem if you wanted to get booked in corporate America, but it really wasn't. And so then I thought to myself, I used to like pick up as a pen, I used to like in college, I'd pick up a hairbrush. I'd be like, all right, listen, everybody, I got a joke. And I literally was just talking to this hairbrush. And it
Oh
was
my
like a whole
God.
thing. And people would tell me funny stories. And I was somebody that had this energy. You know, people who have the energy of attracting negative stuff because they have a very negative mindset.
Right.
I was somebody who didn't attract negative things. I attracted crazy, insane, thank you God for this story situations.
Right.
I don't know how it happened, but it was just one of those things where somebody's like, listen, if you're going to have a wild night and something like so crazy and random and funny is going to happen, it's because you're with Madison. Like she just had, for some reason, like the shit that I would attract. I mean, I got trapped at 20 years old at a nudist colony, like a nudist swingers fuck fest. Pardon my
Oh
language.
my God. Are you kidding me?
No.
Wait, what?
It's one of my favorite stories.
I love it. Just tell us.
Because I was in Boston and my dad said, I'll give you very lucky that my dad did that. I'll give you $1,500 if you can find a girlfriend to go with you for spring break. I want you to experience the spring break. So I said, okay. So, but I got to have all the food, all the flights. So I'm like, all right, I need 5-star all inclusive. I call up a travel agent in Boston. I was in school in Boston. BJ's Travel. I was like, done. Call up BJ's. And they're like, yes, we can get this for you. But the catch is, based on like availabilities and certain, what they're looking for at the resort, you won't know where you're going until you land in the third world country. And I'm like, sign me up. This sounds great. So my girlfriend and I, we booked this trip. All we know is that we have tickets to Montego Bay. We're going to Jamaica. Now we think we're going to Montego Bay. We're staying in Montego Bay. We get to the place. They tell us, they're like, no, you're getting on a bus. You're going to Negril. So all these like spring breakers were all going to Montego Bay and all, and we got on a bus with a bunch of baby boomers, like our parents' age. And I'm thinking, oh shit, what did I do here? And I didn't even realize where we were. We didn't know the
Oh my
name of the
God.
resort. We didn't know anything until my friend was like, these are weird photos on the wall, like just weird, like art things. And then our room wasn't ready. So we decided to go up to the bar to get a drink by the pool. And the pool was a little bit dead. And so we grabbed a drink. And it wasn't until I saw a butt naked man with a very large limp dick just swinging like a pendulum, just
Oh my God.
like an elephant trunk, right? And I'm
Whoa.
thinking, and I'd never seen it limp because I'm 20 years old. All penises worked at that age.
Oh
So
my God.
this was the first time, and we crack up laughing. And I'm like, oh my God, that guy's naked. And the people next to us said, do you have any idea where you're at? And we're like, no. And they're like, this is like a nudist resort. So this is the prude side. But if you go over to the nude side, it's like a big party.
Whoa.
And we're like laughing. I'm like, this is insane. But what I learned about that trip, if you haven't gone down a water slide butt naked,
It's fun.
do it. It's the best public douche you'll ever have. Put it on your bucket list. I'm telling you, you drain for like 15 minutes. It's amazing. Number 2, just because it isn't your lifestyle doesn't give you a right to judge.
Right.
We have to do what's best for us. Am I a swinger? Do I want an open relationship? Absolutely not.
Right.
But am I going to sit there and put my values and my judgments on somebody else because they choose to do that? No. These people were lovely. They were respectful. They just like to get a little crazy.
Right. Oh my God. What a story.
Yes. It's kind of like the article, what I learned about seeing 1,000 dicks in a week.
That is a great article, actually.
Right?
That's hilarious.
And the good news, I didn't have to touch any of them.
Oh my God. I love that. Wait, so you did, how long did you do comedy?
I did comedy for 13 years and I still get dragged on stage. It was amazing. I got to perform with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I've got to travel all over. I've got to meet the most incredible people. The people that I was friends with in comedy were not the people I would have been friends with had I stayed on Wall Street. And you really you become humble. You appreciate what's around you. You start becoming friends with people from very different walks of life. And it is a blessing that, and I can't fully let comedy go because my mind just is very dirty. So I feel like people would
gotta have an outlet.
Well, yeah, but also I feel like people would be like, she's kind of fucked up. When they hear you're a comedian, they're like, oh my God, she's hilarious.
Right, right. What's so interesting, I just had this like circle back moment to when you started on Wall Street and you said that you noticed people, how they were living was really for the outside, for, showing up on time, proving themselves, for external reasons. And then all these years later, you're now in this comedic world, seeing people for the truth of who they are, seeing their rawness, seeing their honesty, because you were just highlighting that. So what a breadth of humanity you've been exposed to and been able to learn from. So
Yeah.
beautiful. So but we have a couple minutes left. So now you've told us a bit about your journey, which is so incredibly beautiful, that listening to your body, how it helps you, how it can sometimes hurt you and cause this pain in your body, but then you learn from it and you pivot. And now you are where you are in Nashville. You've
Yes.
landed, your body feels free. You said you feel less
So
stress
great.
and you feel calm and almost at home, even though you've left your friends and it was a difficult decision, but even still you followed the intuition and you've landed in the right place. How does that feel?
I just knew it feels good. I mean, I just knew
Yeah,
there was something down here.
right.
I'd been working on a secret project that's not out yet that took place, of two women that were up north and ended
Mm,
up in the deep south. And I had no, I'm not, I don't know, think I'm in the deep south, but I'm in the south.
mm, mm,
That would eventually get me to being here. But there's just
mhm,
so many new people I've met here and doors that have opened up, kind of like things in entertainment that I still had kind of on the side burner that have
mm,
now reignited from
mm.
being here, from being in just a clear state of mind, from
Yes.
being, entertainment is very, very big here. It feels bigger than New York.
Yeah.
It almost feels like an LA with less attitude,
Right.
which is nice. And
Mm,
just to, so I primarily came down here for like a better cost of living and my career.
I love that.
And
I
there's
love.
other things that have happened too that have been great. I think that just no matter where you're at, if you're in a positive mindset and you realize like life is so short, I'm just going to take the risk. I'm going to
Mm,
not be afraid of rejection. I'm not going to be afraid of failure. I'm not going to be afraid of what people think. Your
right.
life will be absolutely magical because it happened to me.
I think that's so beautiful, and I'm just gonna invite in the whole piece of body set. There is the mindset and what you're talking about, but what we haven't named is the body set. You listened to your
Yeah.
body's intuition, the body intelligence. It's that gut knowing. You mentioned it many, many times. This is the awareness I want people
Yeah.
to understand and connect with and live by. It's a
Yeah.
combination of our mindset and our body set so that we can live whole and we can live real and honest and authentic, which is
Yeah.
what you are doing. So, how do people connect with you, get to know you more? Because if I'm listening to this, I'm like, I need to know her. I need to know where she is. What
Oh,
is she
thank you.
doing? How can I be a part of her world? So, give us a little bit of that.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Real Madison Malloy.
Mm,
You can check out my podcast, Next to Madison. Jen has
mhm,
been on there, which has a lot of great topics from coaching to health to finance, all the stuff to kind of make your world a little bit better and inspire you.
mm,
My books, you can go on my website, madisonmalloy.com. My first book was Time to Lighten the F Up, which was kind of a lot of personal stories of how I dealt with anxiety and depression and just really learned to kind of take my foot off the gas, so to say,
mm, mm.
and enjoy life more, which actually helps you reach your goals faster. Yeah, I
I
think
love it.
that's pretty much, yeah, you can just
Perfect.
Google Madison Malloy. I'll pop up.
Oh,
I'll
yeah, I'm
pop
gonna put
up.
all your information in the show notes and everything. You're fantastic. You're
Thank
a real
you.
inspiration. I love your journey. I love the humor. I'm all about having a
Thank you.
good
And
time and
thank you for
laughing our way
my
through.
allowing me to say a couple dirty things on
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Do
It's
you
all
know
welcome here.
one thing I will say? It's so funny. People say, "How do you describe yourself?" And I always say, "I've got Greenwich, Connecticut face with trailer park taste."
That's funny. You're fantastic. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all for being here and listening to the Wisdom from Within podcast, which is where human stories awaken the leadership from within. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next
Thank you.
week. If something in this conversation spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone who might need that message too. You can also send me a comment because I would love to know what it is that landed for you. But most importantly, take a moment to pause and listen to what it is that resonated, because that's where your real guidance system lives. The one you can trust, the one you can rely on. See you next week.